Steve, with this being back-to-back, what's your thinking on DeMarcus's work playing?
DeMarcus will not play tomorrow night, and neither will Sean Livingston.
Steve, you've been through this whole thing over here to the right. We've been through this whole thing so often before. It's kind of the dog days. That sort of reminds me of baseball in August. As a player, I mean, how do you deal with this time of the year as a coach with these guys?
As a coach?
Yeah, as a coach, to keep these guys, you know, in an even keel.
This year's been easier just with DeMarcus's return, and but these last couple games I think have shown that we haven't been quite focused. So we reminded them today at shoot around that All-Star break is still, 36 hours away. So let's work all the way till the end and then enjoy the break.
With DeMarcus, have you plans for a while to sit him on one of the nights of the back-to-back, and what would be kind of your future plans on back-to-back?
There's no plans in the future. This is his first back-to-back, or the first back-to-back that we've had on the schedule, I believe, since he's been back. And so this was planned all along. Rick and I talked about it a few weeks ago, Marcus as well. So this was the plan, and then we'll pick things up after the break and see where it goes.
Coach, it was a major outcry. You talk about obviously Gobert not making the All-Star team. That conversation came up. Do you guys game plan for him? Do you see him, on that level of being that type of talent in this league today?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's an All-Star caliber player. Every year, I get a vote, and there's always 4 or 5 guys we have to leave off. And you sit there, and it's agonizing because you know that they all deserve it. But you have to make some decisions, and so he didn't make it. He was probably the first guy off the list. But again, it's part of the league. There's a couple other guys. Tobias Harris, I thought, was having an All-Star year as well. He didn't make it. But this is just the way it works. I'd like to see the All-Star roster expanded. We suit up 13 every game. They have 12 going to the All-Star game. I would think we should have 13.
You might have commented on this in the past, so forgive me if you have, but All-Star game coming up and the slam dunk contest is coming up. You're familiar with Andre's performance in the 2006 slam dunk contest? Have you seen that?
I was there.
Yeah.
I was in the stands. Yeah, or maybe working for TNT. So I do remember him throwing the ball off the side of the backboard, which had never been done before. Pretty impressive.
Does that rank up there with dunks that you've seen?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think any of those contests, what makes it so difficult for the guys who are participating is everybody wants to see something new, and that was definitely something new. That was pretty remarkable.
One important, one non-important. Is there any reason why we have Eastern and Western Conference players in the All-Star game anymore? Would we to continue that conversation? And so I ask you that. But also, what has the trickle-down effect been of having DeMarcus in the starting lineup done for the rest of your rotation allowed you to do in other spots?
First question, I don't really have a feel one way or the other. Whether it should be the top 24 guys or 12 each. I thought maybe when there was somebody got injured in the East, I can't remember who got injured recently. Oladipo. I thought maybe when he was injured, I thought there was a chance maybe the league would take a Western Conference player since the teams aren't divided that way anymore. But they didn't do that. But not really something I've paid a whole lot of attention to. Our rotation, the main thing is just it's allowed us to get deeper. Kevon Looney was starting, so we bring him off the bench, and he's been great for us all year. So we just have one more really good player who we can get minutes from. So if we have an injury, if we have foul trouble, we can plug Looney in off the bench rather than starting him. So we're just that much deeper.
Coach, Draymond and Rudy are two of the favorites for Defensive Player of the Year, but they are such different players defensively. Can you just talk a little bit about how they're able to make such an impact despite going about it in such different ways?
Rudy's more of an old school defender, protecting the paint, protecting the rim, dominating with his shot blocking, his presence. Draymond is more modern day, just covering the entire floor, pick and roll, and, switching and guarding point guards, and then getting back to the rim and protecting the rim. Both tremendous defenders, obviously, but they just go about it a little different way.
Hey Steve, with regard to DeMarcus, it seems like he's integrated your system so well. Is the biggest concern for you just making sure you monitor his minutes? I noticed the other night, for instance, and I don't know if this is true, but he was saying I was really pushing to be able to get to play the last few minutes, and had to kind of campaign for it. I don't know if that's true, but just curious.
Well, in Phoenix, we were going to take him out around the 6-minute mark, and he came. He was playing really well. He came and pled his case. He said, I really was. He said, please don't take me out. I said, if you get permission from Rick, I'll keep you in. And Rick came out and gave us the okay, so we kept him out there. But that's been the biggest thing early on. It's just monitoring the minutes, looking at who we're playing against. When we played against Philadelphia, for example, going against MLB, we wanted to have him down the stretch. The other night, without Andre available, we knew we'd like to have him available down the stretch. So, the other games we've gone our traditional small lineup to close games. So it's nice to have both options.
Steve, Clay's resume obviously speaks for itself, but what do you think it took for him this season, not only to overcome some of those shooting slumps, but still be able to provide value to the different areas?
All he had to do was be himself. He's a great two-way player, one of the best in the league. And so as long as he is defending and doing his job on that end, he's incredibly valuable, whether his shots are going in or not. But obviously the last month or 6 weeks, whatever, he's really caught fire. I don't think it surprised anybody. This is just what happens over the course of 82 games. There's some ups and downs, but at the end of the year, that law of averages and just another.
Do you have a favorite game of his this season, whether it's the NBA record in Chicago or Portland?
The beauty of Clay is that. And one of his underrated values is his durability, his availability. So, if you ask me my favorite Clay game, I can literally pick from every single game. I think he might have missed one. He missed one game.
Philadelphia game.
He got soft that night. But last year he's playing in the finals. He's got a bruise up and down his quad that you can't even imagine that somebody would play. But that's one of the best attributes of any player, just being there for the team night in, night out. He takes great pride in that. So the combination of a great two-way player who's available every single night, and then once in a while he sets an NBA record for points in a quarter, most threes in a game, and shoots 50% from the field for the whole year, and 40% from three. What's not to love?
Steve, we make jokes about tampering sometimes, but when you look around the league now and you look at the fact that players talk to each other all the time, coaches talk to each other all the time, in your mind, first of all, do you have a full grasp of what is tampering and what's not tampering, and do you think it's effective?
First of all, I apologize to Major League Baseball. I felt bad about my Bryce Harper tamper. And they agreed to let me off the hook.
So, $50,000, no?
No, they didn't want my money after all. So. What's that? You could expect it. Yeah, you're the one who asked me. No, I think the tampering stuff is always interesting because players, especially nowadays, players are so close and they talk so much. And more and more now, guys are playing together in the summer and working out together, and for sure recruiting each other. And but players are allowed to do that. Teams have to avoid that. I got fined one time in Phoenix for making a joke on the radio. I went on the Dan Patrick show, and I think Dan asked me if we would be interested in LeBron. It was LeBron's free agent year before he went to Miami, and we were capped out in Phoenix. We had no captain, and I said, yeah, we'd be interested if he didn't mind taking mid-level. And Dan laughed, and I laughed, and $10,000 I wrote a check. So I learned my lesson. And then I make the Bryce Harper joke, and I get fined.
Go ahead.
Raymond and his crack staff say in the pregame notes that with Gasol having been traded from Memphis, that Steph and Clay have now started more games together than any active combo in the NBA. Obviously, they're both great players. Could you describe some of the ways they make each other better, and has it changed at all in 5 years since you've been here?
It hasn't really changed at all. They complement each other beautifully because they're both great screen setters. They both play really well off the ball. Steph is obviously more dominant with the ball than Clay is, but Clay's really good with the ball too. I mean, he's getting to the rim, and he's got really good with private kick. To me, they're kind of old school. If you think about the NBA in the 70s and 80s, you didn't really have point guards, two guards. You just had guards. You had guys, Clyde Frazier and Earl Monroe, guys like that. They could, Norm Nixon was not really a point guard. He went into just a guard. And a lot of guys who could just make plays. So they're like old school, only they shoot from 35 feet out. So old school mixed with new school. But the other thing is Clay's ability to guard the ball and guard point guards takes a lot of pressure off of Steph and allows him to slide over and guard the other guard, which is it's a big help to Steph. Allows him a breather. He doesn't have to always guard somebody who's going to put him through a gauntlet of ball screens. And Clay is so big and strong, he can do all that and still be unbelievably effective offensively. So they really complement each other well.
Over this 5-year span, I recall coaches during preseason of that first year, like, oh my gosh, they're running this and doing this. And it seemed like maybe not caught people by surprise, but everyone's trying to learn what you did the first year. How different is what you do now offensively, considering everyone's for 4 or 5 years tried to adapt to it and react to it, than what it was when it first was in its first iteration?
We don't do a whole lot of things that are that different, but the way people are guarding is absolutely different. You can see it's easy to see the adjustments year to year, but we still are going to play to our strengths. We've never really had a dominant low post score, but now that we have DeMarcus, we're able to add some of that. But we're still basing our whole game on getting stops and then running in transition. And then if we're playing the half court, got a lot of guys who can make plays. Beyond just Steph and Clay and KD, we've got Andre and Sean. Now DeMarcus, Draymond leads us in assists. So all we're trying to do is move the ball. Because the more you move the ball, the more decisions the defense has to make. The more likely they are to make a mistake. But we've definitely seen the way teams have reacted to what we do. They've adjusted, made it much tougher for us. But we're still trying to do the same things, basically.
Last one.
Donovan Mitchell suggested that Rudy Gobert might take this game personally because of the tweets directed at him by Andre and Draymond. Is that anything you concern yourself with, or are you like Quinn and just chalk that up to guys being competitive?
It's modern NBA Twitter warfare. It never ends. It seems to be one of the most entertaining dynamics of the league. So I stay out of it, so you can ask Draymond and Rudy about that. Thanks. Thank you.